What's up, guys, and welcome to Gamescript. Got the Detroit Lions versus the Kansas City Chiefs for Sunday Night Football, and it's a game that's loaded with fantasy weapons, but which one should we choose as our captain? I'm going to dig into it right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Gamescript. We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions. We got a 52.5-point total. They're playing in Kansas City, and the Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites in this one. And it's a game loaded with fantasy weapons. Like I said at the top of the show, it's going to be hard to narrow down who we want to put in our lineups because any one of these guys from either of these teams could go off. And there's a bunch on either side of the ball with the Chiefs or the Lions that we could use as a captain option. And I'm going to whittle it down here in a second. Make sure to hit that like button. Give me the 50 likes so I can put my favorite picks in the comment section as we get closer to lock. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm only about 60, 70 away from hitting that 2100 mark. So if you guys can do that, I would like to get there before the end of Monday night. So I definitely appreciate that. And you want to subscribe to the channel anyways to get alerts when these shows go up. I do Gamescript episodes for each one of these island games. And then I also do 2-game shows. I'm going to be doing a special Monday 2-game slate show. I'm going to put that out at some point, probably before tomorrow morning. And then on top of that, do all these main slate shows as well. Last week, had some great picks last week, ended up hitting 17th place in the SPY on DraftKings. But this week, we got to wait and see what happens in the afternoon because right now I'm getting all these alerts from Underdog, and none of them involve my players. So it's been pretty shitty to get all these alerts on my phone and seeing none of them have to do with anything that I started. So let's take a look here at the scenario that we're looking at. Going to go to the injury report first because there's a ton of injuries on Detroit's side. All right, so we're taking a look at Detroit. Look at this defense. It's basically the entire over half the defense is on IR or they're out this week. We're looking at Avonte Maddox is out. We're looking at DJ Reed is out. Rakestraw is out on IR, those guys. Daniel Thomas on IR. Dan Jackson on IR. Khalil Dorsey on IR. Ezekiel Turner on IR. Davenport on IR. We got guys out. Aleem McNeil is out. Josh Pascal is out. Zach Cunningham is out. Avonte Maddox, as I said, is out. Teron Arnold is out. And we got Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph both questionable. On the offense, we got Taylor Decker out. This is significant because this is going to get a lot of pressure on Goff tonight. We got Miles Frazier out. Jamarco Jones is on IR. Colby Sorsdal is on IR, and a bunch of other guys on IR or out. So basically half the Lions are on IR or they're out. Let's take a look at the Chiefs for comparison. We got Rashee Rice suspended. Ethan Driscoll is out. Josh Simmons is questionable left tackle. On their defense, we got Deion Bush is on IR. Najee Johnson on IR. Brendan George, Felix, Eric Scott, and Janoris Robinson. Those guys are all out, but they got their main guys intact. So definitely not as much damage to the Kansas City side as we see to the Detroit side. So we're going to go back over here and take a look at our the game situation based on all those injuries. So basically the passing game is going to be in play for Kansas City this week. Patrick Mahomes has looked like his old self recently, so we want to make sure that we're getting exposure to this passing game. And on top of that, this high total. I think that both these teams are going to try to stay aggressive. With Kansas City, they don't have a run game, and the Detroit defense is strongest against the run. So we're looking at a situation with Kansas City where they're going to have to go to the pass, even if they didn't want to, which they do, because it's all they got for an offense right now. And on the Detroit side, Kansas City has been weak against the run recently. They've been giving up 21.5 DraftKings points a game to running backs. On that flip side, with Kansas City, Detroit's been giving up 18.3 DraftKings points a game to the running backs. I believe we saw Kareem Hunt scored 2 touchdowns the last time these Chiefs were on the showdown. So it's just, these Chiefs are very tricky to try to figure out. It's never a fun experience when these Chiefs are on a showdown episode, because it's just they use the most random people. The matchups that don't align end up being the ones that hit, and the guys that you don't think are going to hit end up getting 2 touchdowns. So it's very frustrating trying to figure out the Chiefs. But I do think that once we get a guys like Xavier Worthy back in the lineup, we get a little bit more stability, and a guy that Patrick Mahomes is going to lean on a little bit more. So that's going to help us out with trying to narrow it down today. But you can see Patrick Mahomes, 30 DraftKings points in that game versus Jacksonville, 27 the week before that. And he's had a couple 20-point weeks as well. I would imagine we're going to see in this 20 to 30 range tonight, just based on the aggressiveness that they're going to need to take against Detroit. The most expensive guy on the slate is Jahmyr Gibbs. Kansas City weak against the run. I like Gibbs and Montgomery tonight based on Jared Goff's history against playing on the road in prime time and outdoor spots. And you look back at the history of that, he doesn't have a whole bunch of huge games. It's mostly the running backs that carry the team in those weeks, or the running backs that have the significant fantasy scores. And so Gibbs is going to be definitely in play against Kansas City, especially with the matchup being softer than it normally is against Kansas City with this run defense. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the guy that they target most in man coverage. And let me get a look here at the man coverage rate for Kansas City. They're running it at a 48% clip, which is top 10 in the league. So there's going to be a situation where Amon-Ra might get some targets here against man coverage. And let's see, he's had some big weeks. He's had 42-point week in week 2. He had a 26-point week. He had a couple 21-point weeks. So Amon-Ra has had a good season so far. It seems like he's having a better season than he did last year. It seemed like last year he wasn't scoring as many fantasy points, but this year it looks like he is focus of the offense. But the problem with Amon-Ra St. Brown is the Chiefs have a weaker nickel corner, and it's looking like, let me go to the Kansas City depth chart here. So I was watching a video with John Gruden breaking down this game too, and he was suggesting that Trent McDuffie might move into the nickel to handle Amon-Ra St. Brown, which should push this rookie cornerback Noel Williams into the left corner. And that would be significant because he would match up against Jameson Williams, I believe, the most. And that would set up Jameson Williams to have a decent game in this one if he's up against a rookie in coverage this week. And we haven't seen much out of Jameson Williams so far this season. Jameson Williams, we've seen one good week out of him. That was back in week 2 against Chicago. But, this could be one of those weeks where, he has a breakout week when nobody is kind of anticipating him to do anything. He did have 8 targets a couple weeks ago against Cleveland in a difficult matchup, But, if he's going up against a rookie corner in man coverage, let me get an idea of what Jameson Williams has done versus man coverage. Let's see. So Jameson Williams is not the best option on the team versus man coverage that Kansas City is going to be running. It's mainly been Amon-Ra St. Brown and Isaac Tesla. So Tesla, could be an option for us too, because Tesla is in a situation where Khalif Raymond might be out tonight. If Khalif Raymond is out, he's questionable. We want to keep an eye on this for injury alert. But if Khalif Raymond is out, that's going to set up Isaac Tesla to have a huge role in this game. And if he's getting covered, or if he's getting targeted as much as almost, second on the team, basically right behind Amon-Ra St. Brown as far as targeted under man coverage, then that's going to set up Tesla to have a pretty nice game too. And he's cheap. So if we can get a guy like Tesla and the captain, it's going to make a whole lot of room for us to put in some of these other guys in the flex. So just keep that in mind when we're building our lineups. Jared Goff, talked about him. I could see one of these like 12, 13-point games tonight in a outdoor on the road match. But all it takes is one or two long passes to Tesla or Williams for those guys to pay off without necessarily dragging him to the finish line with them. So Goff is not a necessary start this week. Xavier Worthy is going to be the guy for Kansas City tonight. I think that he is going to be, let's get an idea of his coverage here. All right, so versus man coverage, Xavier Worthy is behind Tyquan Thornton and Marquise Brown as the top targets, but Xavier Worthy's only played run 25 routes versus 49 and 57 for those other guys. But Tyquan Thornton leads the way here against man coverage and would be probably one of the key guys that we want to focus in on this week. Let me take a look at Tyquan real quick. So he's become one of Patrick Mahomes' favorite targets, and the guy has not disappointed yet. It feels like his salary hasn't really climbed to where it should be, based on what he's been doing. That's his flex. That's his captain salary. So his flex salary is $4,400. So he's still dirt cheap, even though he's getting all these bombs from Mahomes in every game. And look at these targets: 5, 9, 5, 3. He scored a touchdown in 3 out of 5 games. Like Thornton's been, like a stud for the Chiefs since he joined them, and he's going to be heavily in play tonight with that advantageous matchup and the focus on him with man coverage. So let's check out Worthy. Let me see if I got any notes on Worthy here. So according to, let's see, according to Rich Rebar, it looks like Worthy is one of the top targets when Patrick Mahomes is under pressure. On top of that, we're looking at the damage to the cornerbacks, like I talked about earlier. We're still looking for the safeties to be out too. But basically, I think that Thornton, I might prefer Thornton over Worthy, even though I think that Worthy will probably be getting the most targets. But I don't know how he's going to perform with the coverage situation, because he's 0.24 fantasy points per route run versus 0.49 for Thornton, 0.35 for Marquise Brown. So he's number 3 on that man coverage list. He's more of a zone coverage type of target. But I do think that, Worthy is definitely in play. He's going to just have volume tonight. So I'm not necessarily scared off of him just because of, man versus zone splits. But I do like Thornton a lot because of those same splits on a guy that's going to get a little bit less volume. Travis Kelce, he is in a matchup against Detroit, which has been giving up 12.1 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So that's going to set up, Travis Kelce in a middling matchup. He's also a guy that, I think Patrick Mahomes targets a lot when he gets blitzed or he's under pressure. So Travis Kelce could have a significant role in this one. He's not on the top of my list, but he did have a big game against Jacksonville last week with 8 targets, 7 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. So pretty good performance there by Travis Kelce. Sam Laporta is also in a good matchup against Kansas City. They haven't really faced anyone good for tight end defense or for tight ends yet so far this season. So I'm not really looking at the numbers there. But Sam Laporta, if you remember last year, Kansas City was most vulnerable to the tight end position. So I think that Sam Laporta is definitely going to be in play this week, and probably one of my favorite plays on the slate in this one. David Montgomery had narrative street last week against Cincinnati, and now I think it's going to turn back to Jahmyr Gibbs as the primary target, especially with like a game script like this where they might be needing to throw a lot. Jameson Williams had talked about. Hollywood Brown, the other guy that Mahomes likes to target in man coverage, has not really had a big week yet so far this season, but he had a 20-point week in week 1 and a 13-point week in week 4. Both these kickers are going to be in play, Bates and Butker. More so Butker probably, because Bates is going to be dealing with the going for it on 4th that Detroit likes to do. And you can see he's had a couple decent weeks, but those were in tougher to score matchups. This one with Butker, he's had 3 out of 5 weeks, double-digit points, so I like that. Kareem Hunt, like I said last week, I'm done trying to figure out these running backs or, for the most part, these wide receivers, apart from, being obvious like Thornton or something like that or Worthy. But Kareem Hunt ends up scoring 2 touchdowns last week against Jacksonville, which had a good run defense up until last week. Tyquan Thornton, I like him. Pacheco, same situation with Hunt. It's impossible to predict these guys, but Detroit has only been allowing 18.3 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, so it is a difficult matchup. I think with the defense, I would only lean more Chiefs based on how banged up the Lions are, but I really don't like either defense tonight. Brashad Smith, I thought he was going to have a decent game last week. He only ended up getting 1 attempt for 4 yards. He ended up with 3 targets. So did not really do much for us last week. But that's not to say that he can't do something this week, but he's at 3K. There was talk by the coaching staff of wanting to use him more. Smith-Schuster last week had 3 targets. Let's get a look at these snap counts from last week when they were in a competitive game. Let me get up the wide receivers over on Fantasy Pros. We're going to sort it by team. If you go to Kansas City, we see that Worthy had a 77% snap count, 45 for Thornton. Juju had a 66% count, and Marquise Brown had 55. So all those guys were getting more snaps than Thornton, but Thornton remains the deep ball weapon for Kansas City on a year where Patrick Mahomes is having a kind of resurgence. Isaiah Tesla caught another touchdown last week. All he does is catch touchdowns, like literally 1 target, 1 reception, touchdown. 1 target, 1 reception, touchdown. This one was almost a touchdown. He had 1 target, 1 reception. It was amazing 29-yard catch in that one. But he could get a lot of work if Khalif Raymond is out tonight. So that's what we want to keep an eye out for. I don't know why he hasn't passed him on the depth chart already, but like it should be at some point during the season, I would guess. Brock Wright, not really interested here, but he's the type of guy, like he scored a touchdown last week. Otherwise, his salary would probably be still in the 600 range. Noah Gray, not really interested. Let's see if we see anyone else in the dumpster that would be worth diving for. Yeah, that's about it for guys that are of interest in this one. So if we're looking for a captain pick, I think based on these prices, I think that Worthy is going to be a popular option tonight. So let's put him in the captain. Let's get Gibbs in there. Amon-Ra is probably going to be popular, and let's get Mahomes in there. Leaves us with 2,300 per guy. If we're looking cheap here, I think we can go Tesla as a cheap option. That leaves us with 2,300. We could go with like a Brock Wright or a Noah Gray or one of those types of guys. If you wanted to switch out, maybe let's switch out Amon-Ra for Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is actually at a decent price this week at 5,800. That's going to leave us with 7,300. That way we have options for David Montgomery. I don't mind using double running backs in this one. Hollywood Brown is another option for us. Talked about his popularity with man coverage. And then we go down a little bit, you can get to Thornton or Hunt. So you got a lot of options if we go in this direction. Let's take out Williams. Let's put in Laporta. That leaves us in that same spot. We got like everyone except for Williams. We got Brown, Hunt, Thornton as options. Pacheco if you want to go there. Let's clear that out. And let's say that we get a good game from Thornton this week. And let's say he gets a decent amount of targets under man coverage and he ends up having a big game. Maybe they're playing from behind a little bit. Let's get Gibbs in there. Let's put Mahomes in there. I'm going to skip St. Brown, but let's put Worthy in this one. And let's go down and let's get Jameson Williams in this one. Leaves us at 7,600. We can put Sam Laporta in this one. So that leaves us with like a decent situation, or David Montgomery, or again, if you wanted to go down to Hunt, Butker, Bates, guys like that. This kind of fits the script. If we want to swap those guys, maybe we want to put Williams in the captain, anticipating a breakout game from him. We put Thornton down in the flex, leaves us with 6,600. Not in that Sam Laporta range, but you can get guys like Hollywood Brown, who we talked about, or one of these kickers, or Kareem Hunt. So that's it for this show, guys. Making it a quick one so I can get this up before we get closer to the game. Make sure to hit that like button. Give me to 50 likes so I can put my favorite picks in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. Get me to 2,100 subscribers. We want to be subscribed to get access to the secret weapon coming out. You're going to need to be subscribed to the YouTube channel in order to access the free beta preview of my website I got coming out. That's going to be a website focused on giving you basically a news center for news and nuggets coming out and breakdowns of mentions of every single player, the obscure ones, the popular ones, whoever. And it's going to be a secret weapon with trying to figure out these showdown slates on these guys that are lesser known, further down the depth chart or further down the salary range that we don't get enough information about. So I'm going to help try to resolve, that problem. So definitely subscribe to the channel so you can get that free beta preview. It's only going to be for the YouTube subscribers. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, hit that hype button, and I'll see you guys for Monday's 2-game slate.